I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about. For me, lately, I've been a minister. I will be celebrating 20 years of ministry at the end of this year. And I know I started when I was 10. And I'm just like, I'm at that point where it's like, okay, you've given 20 years of talks. What more is there to say? But what I realize is I've given 20 years of talks. What more is there to be? What more is there for me to be? So that when I speak, I'm not speaking from that. I'm speaking from what's happening right now in this moment, what's going on right now. So the title of my talk today is The Quantum Visionary. And someone's calling. The Quantum Visionary. But this isn't just about me. This is about all of us being quantum visionaries. Our theme this month is awakening. And I told a funny story last week that I want to tell y'all in case anybody watched my last week's talk. Great, so I'll tell you today. Adair did. So, when Kevin and I first got together, we were flying home at Christmas to his mother and father's house, and I had not met them yet. We'd been together almost a year, I guess, when I finally met his parents, because it was a surprise to his parents that Kevin was bringing home a man, not a woman. So they needed some time to figure this out. And I will say, though, after I met them, they have been the most incredible parents that I have known. So, but anyway, so it's really early, and Kevin makes a plane trip for us to go to Rochester, New York. We lived in New York City. To go to Rochester, New York, the plane is leaving at like 6 in the morning or something. Now, we were new in our relationship, so apparently he hadn't figured out I was not a morning person. So this 6 a.m. flight seemed a little daunting to me to be up. And Kevin's also one of those people that insists on being to the airport 2 hours early. Whereas I think if you fly through the door as it's closing, you are on time. Anybody else? Yeah, exactly. So it's like 3 in the morning, and he comes in, and he's like, okay, come on, got to get in the shower. We're going to go to the airport. And I was like, okay, I'm awake. And then he goes off to do things. I go back to sleep. He comes back in. He goes, Jim, come on. We have to go. Jim, I was Jim back then. Jim, come on. We got to go to the airport. And I'm like, I'm awake. And I sit up, and he leaves, and I go back to sleep. And so this went on for about 45 minutes, would you say? Yeah. Until finally he came in, turned all the lights on, pulled all the sheets off the bed. He goes, you've got to get ready. So the reason I'm telling you this talk, the reason I'm telling you this story is because, well, first of all, we were late for the plane, which did not go over big with Kevin, and really didn't go over big with his parents. So it's like now you're bringing home a guy who has time issues. But we get to the airport. When we got to the airport, the plane door was closed, but we still had 15 minutes, right? I am right. We still had 15 minutes. And I'm like, why did you close the doors? You weren't on. We had to, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, then you got to open them. He said, we can't open the doors. I was like, well, I'm on time, so it's not my problem. It's your problem. You have to get me to Rochester. And Kevin's just standing back going, who have I married? I'm like all Shirley MacLaine on these people. And so finally, they fly us to Albany, and they have to pay for a town car. Syracuse, thank you. They fly us to Syracuse, as if there's a difference. They fly us to Syracuse, and a car drives us to Rochester, all on the airline. So that's just me telling you I was right. Anyway, but here's what I've learned many, 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 many years later, because we've been together 34 years. So 34 years later, 33 years later, I'm like, how often in my life do I walk around saying I'm awake when I'm not? I know, right? Yeah, right? It's like, no, I'm awake. No, you're not. You're not awake. I am half awake. I'm stumbling awake. Yeah, I'm sort of awake. That's what I want us to look at today. How awake are you? How awake are you? I mean, really wide awake to everything happening in your life, everything. Or are you sort of laying there with the sheets over you going, no, I'm awake, I'm awake, I'm awake. Because frankly, just like in the song, someone's going to come along and teach me, not everyone has Kevin Bailey as their husband who will come in and tear those sheets off of you and wake you up. Life sometimes does it. Has anybody had things happen to them in their life that has woken them up in that moment? I think we all have, yeah. So, I wanted you to look at this quote by Ernest Holmes. He says, "We look forward to the day when science and religion shall walk hand in hand through the visible to the invisible." This is Ernest Holmes in The Science of Mind. It used to be called The Science of Mind and Spirit, written in 1926, published in 1927. And this is the first sentence in the foreword. This is how he begins this book. "We look forward to the day when science and religion shall walk hand in hand through the visible, through what we're all seeing, to the invisible." Well, the day has come. We are in that day. And it is important for us to know that we're in that day, that the day has come and we are able to move through the visible into the invisible because we now understand who and what we are. So I called the talk The Quantum Visionary, and I really thought about this. Do I really want to get up here on a Sunday morning and talk about quantum physics to everyone who just got up to come shopping? I was like, do I want to really launch into quantum physics and talk about quantum and possibly confuse people? And so clearly my answer was yes. I do, because it's not confusing. And I'm going to show you why it's not confusing. And I have no more slides to show you. Today is all about me. Today is all about you listening, not looking at pretty pictures. And I don't know if I'll do slides again. That was the old me. I don't know how I want to do this going forward. But today, I really want you to listen. Use your ears and just listen and see what you think. So I want to talk about quantum. The word quantum just means the smallest part of something. That's all it means. Quantum means the smallest particle, the smallest part of something. Because in quantum physics, quantum metaphysics, they're asking us, who are you? Who are you, Nancy? You are this gazillion particles all come together to create this singing phenomenon. That's what happens. You are all of these billions and billions of particles coming together to remember Star Trek when they'd come back from that thing that when they went away and they come back? And, beam me up, Scotty, that's it. When they come back and all of a sudden they come back together, but you just see like particle, and then they're like, whew, that was funny. Right? That's what we are. All of those particles. That's what the quantum is. And when we talk about the quantum field, we're talking about the field of vibrations, a vibratory energy that is interactive with all of these particles. You know why it's interactive with all these particles? Because you are all of these particles vibrating at all times because the particles are also vibrating. The vibration is the particle. It's one seamless thing, this quantum field of energy. Does everybody get that? Anybody confused on what that is? No, isn't that simple? So when we hear quantum physics, how many of you hear quantum physics and go, and I'm out? Most people are like, oh God, who took physics in high school? Okay, who passed? Okay, good. Who failed? I saw one hand. That's good for you. So that's all we're talking about when we talk about the quantum field. We're talking about this vibration of creativity and love and life and energy and passion. All of that inherent in every particle, and you are made up of nothing but particles and space. Space is the vibration. So that's what you are. So when he says he looks forward to the day when science and religion walk hand in hand, really what Ernest Holmes was leading us into was saying, there's going to come a day when you're going to know who you are. Remember our last part of the vision statement? Remember who you are. There's going to come a day that we can back it all up and go, wait a minute, I am all of this. That's why Rumi said you are not a drop in the ocean, you're the entire ocean in a drop. But truly, you're the entire universe in this momentary individuation called you. That's who you are. Yes?
Are you saying that what I've been feeling the last couple of weeks is I am awakening? As awakening being a noun, I am that energy.
I love that. I am that awakened energy. Yes. How do y'all feel about that? See, you all feel better about yelling to me, right? And talking to me during this. So I don't have to just talk at you. You can tell me something back if you need to. We'll never leave this room, but you can do that. So she's absolutely right. So it is the vibration. This awakening is what I am. And that we are living in a time when this is what's going on. The whole world is waking up. I don't know if they know they're waking up, but we've looked at a lot of stuff these last few years, yes? What do you think the pandemic was about? I think the pandemic came along. I think somewhere in this vibration of life, the zeitgeist of all mind came to the conclusion, we need a break. We need to slow down and take a breath. So what happened? We slowed down. Boy, did we? And we took a breath. And we didn't have a lot of time to do a lot of other things. It was more about staying safe and isolating. But the isolation, here's the funny thing about that. It wasn't being alone. It was isolating to an even bigger understanding of what life is. That's what happened for me. So it wasn't about loneliness. It was about expansion, growth. So what does it mean to me? And that's really a really important thing. What does it mean to me to understand this quantum field? Why do I need to understand this? Is it important to the way I live my life? You bet you it is, and here's why. Have you ever been good at something? There you go. Have you ever been any good at anything? Have you ever been good at something and you realized you were good? Like you realized that you were good at making candles, right? And these are, from the stage, I'm going to say these are the best candles I have ever bought. I just wait for her to come back at Christmas so I can buy, and I've already bought one of everything. I have a big bag of candles to take home because she knows she's good at that. And she's so good at it, she keeps getting better at it and coming up with new things like amber jars, coming up with these new things to do with candles. So have you ever so pick your own thing, what you're really good at. And because you're good at it, you're enthusiasm, energy, the vibration shifts, changes. And then you get better at it, and better and better. You're singing, Nancy. My dancing. I went to New York. I did not have formal training in New York before I got to New York as a dancer. I did not. And I remember going to auditions and just saying, I'll just do what they tell me to do. And I did. And I would do it, and I could dance. But then what did I do? Then I started studying. I went to Joffrey Ballet, and I got involved in getting better at what I did. Because I knew I was good at it, I got better and better and better and better. That's what the quantum field's all about. Because the quantum field, this energy, this vibration, is you, and it's constantly growing, it's constantly expanding. Life cannot be stagnant. It's always moving. So let's just say whatever that thing was that you were good at, that you got better at, now let's just imagine what would happen if we all realized that we were actually good at living life. What if we actually realized we were actually good at living this teaching, living this truth that I am the very breadth and depth of life? You'd get better at it, and better and better. Your life would change. Less problems. You'd have less financial problems. You'd have less relationship problems because you'd keep getting better and better and better and better, just like the quantum field does, over and over and over again, getting better and better and stronger and more expansive. So I guess our only job then is to remember who we are as a starting point and get better and better and better at being who we are. How would you feel about that? Doesn't that feel exciting? Doesn't that feel like something that's really worth trying? So, a visionary. A visionary is one who thinks about or plans the future with imagination and wisdom. That's what a visionary is. So therefore, a quantum visionary would be one who thinks about who they are, the breadth and depth, the bigness of who they are, the expansiveness of who they are. They think about that with imagination and wisdom. So whatever you're thinking about today, which is why I asked you, what's bubbling up? Something will bubble up. And if you allow your quantum self to answer what's bubbling up, you are unstoppable. But if you allow the relative world to answer your questions, you're going to go ask Aunt Ida whether she thinks you should do this or not. Anybody here named Ida? Good. Glad I picked that name. You see the difference? If you get better and better and better at being who you are, everything's possible. Everything is possible. When it bubbles up, you go, yes, I know exactly what to do. And that magnet called the law of cause and effects brings everything your way that you need. Everything you need to succeed comes your way because you are the magnet bringing it all towards you. So, how many people here know who Alan Watts is? Okay, he's not very well known in the room. He was an Episcopal priest who left the priesthood because he wasn't getting what he needed. He wasn't feeling it. And so he went and he studied Buddhism and he studied Asian philosophies and he ended up really as a Buddhist visionary. Here's his quote. Everybody take a deep breath. Jesus knew he was God. So wake up and find out eventually who you really are. In our culture, of course, they'll say you're crazy and you're blasphemous, and they'll either put you in jail or in a nut house, which is pretty much the same thing. However, if you wake up in India and tell your friends and your relations, my goodness, I've just discovered that I'm God, they will laugh and they'll say, oh, congratulations, at last you found out. What I love is that this was, yes, let's applaud Alan Watts. So what I love is people think I'm this revolutionary because I walk around saying I am God. I don't say I am God and you are not. And I don't say I am God and some other people are. I say we're all God. It's all God. Everything is God. Therefore, if everything is God, I am God. This is not revolutionary. This was said back in 1960s. Of course, in the 60s, they said a lot of crazy stuff. But this isn't crazy, right? This has been said. Meister Eckhart, who was kicked out of the Catholic Church, said, between God and me, there is no between. I am that which thou art. Jesus said it. And we know what happened to his story. They weren't happy with his version of it either. So it's not about being a renegade. It's about being a visionary, being willing to know who you are at a quantum level so clearly, so deeply, that when something does bubble up, you are not questioning whether or not you can. You are just deciding whether or not you will. That's a much more powerful place to come from. I'm done asking, can I do this? Because the answer is always yes. Can I do this? Can I succeed at this? Yes. Will I? We'll see. So it's time for us to truly awaken. Here we are in the month of December. The theme is awakening. It is time for us. And like you said, yes, it is a noun. It's my birthright. It's who I am. It's what I am. If the quantum field is nothing but space and particles vibrating at an amazing rate, if that's all it is, and if that's all I am, then yes, I am awakening as a noun, because I am always vibrating, I am always expanding, I am always growing. My only job is to not get in its way. How many of you have ever gotten in the way of your good? We all have. That's why we have free will and choice. I think it was just a great experiment to see how can this human race screw up? Let's just see the many variations of ways we can get in our own way. So what if this Christmas season, this holiday season, and moving into that new year, what if this is the time for us to remember who we are, really back it up, to remember we are this quantum field? Pema Chodron said this: we already have everything we need, which goes to your son. He already has everything he needs. There is no need for, this is, everybody, who knows Pema Chodron? Brilliant, brilliant Buddhist priest. She said, we already have everything we need. There is no need for self-improvement. How do you feel about that? There is no need for self-improvement. All of you people in here that are trying to improve, get over it. It's time for us to stop trying to improve on perfection. Just get out of the way and let it show up. So she says, we already have everything we need. There is no need for self-improvement. All these trips that we lay on ourselves, the heavy-duty fearing that we're bad and hoping that we're good, the identities that we so dearly cling to, the rage, the jealousy, the addiction of all kinds, never touch our basic wealth. They are like clouds that temporarily block the sun, but all the time our warmth and brilliance are right there. This is who we really are. We are one blink of an eye away from being fully awake. I'm going to say that again. We are but one blink of an eye away from being fully awake. Now, as I close this, I have a funny story. That's the line that really hit me. And last week at Global Truth Center, I really hit that line. We are one blink of an eye away from being fully awake. And by Tuesday, I had developed a sty on my eye. I've never had a sty. My entire life, I've never had a sty. And I started feeling it, and then I was like, how weird that on Sunday, I'm saying we are one blink of an eye away from our true identity, and I grew a sty so that every blink reminds me that there's a blink happening. Cause of law and effect, or just a weird version of mental equivalent. I don't know. But it did make me think, and I'm still thinking, every time I blink now, I'm like, Jesus, please. But it's true. We are one blink of an eye. We are so close to going through that veil. And that's my commitment. As we move into this new year, my commitment this year is to give us every opportunity, every example of, every experiential that we can find to get that blink happening, to find that one blink that goes, and there I am, remembering who I am. So, how invested are you going to be to finding that one blink of an eye? You got to make the choice. You have to decide. Science and religion are already walking hand in hand. In fact, science has left religion in the dust, which is why people are not gravitating to it. Science and spirituality are merging into one beautiful thing. And when I go to the sound baths and I go to meditation, spirit breath in the mornings that I guide, that time that I'm in there catapults me to that place. We need more of that. You need more of that. More spiritual practice, more time, even if it's just walking in the mountains and remembering you are all of it. That's where we're going as a spiritual community. We're going there. This is the spiritual center of the desert. So in 2023, we better prove it. We better prove in this community that we are the spiritual center of the desert. Let's bring everything we can to being wide awake, and let's let that blink of an eye happen for each one of us, moment by moment by moment. Because Rumi says, the breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. Back to the beginning of my talk. Let's know that when we say, I'm awake, we really mean it. Namaste. Thank you.